This is Hashtag Finance, presented to you by the Canadian Securities Exchange, the exchange for entrepreneurs. With your host, Barrington Miller.
Hi, welcome to Hashtag Finance. I'm your host, Barrington Miller from the Canadian Securities Exchange. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Chris Driessen from SLANG Worldwide. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, thank you, Barrington. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here and excited to get going.
So this is a little bit new. For one, I haven't done many Hashtag Finances recently, so I'm kind of excited. And two, SLANG Worldwide is a very, very good company. But I knew the other SLANG Worldwide, and now it's time for me and you to get to know this SLANG Worldwide.
Let's do it.
Chris, you are now the president and CEO. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be where you are.
To take it way, way back, what seems like a lifetime ago now, I ran sales teams and did executive leadership and sold copiers of all things, which is a really kind of an interesting sales focus in that it's very, numbers driven. It's a contact sport. The more contact you make, the better you do. Prior to that, I was in hospitality sales and led sales teams there, which is yet different very much again, in that it's about delivering guest experience. How do you make somebody feel versus a solution selling and more technology-based selling. I came into cannabis, much like a lot of people in life. Who do you know? I had a good buddy of mine from Texas. We were both ski bums up in Vail. I'm based here in Denver, Colorado. And he said, hey, I'm going to get into cannabis. You got to come do this thing with me. And my school teacher wife said, absolutely not. You'll not have it. We just got you out of that. Right. We just got you cleaned up. And I just finally, made you into something that I can be proud of. So certainly we look back now and laugh about that. But when I first came into that company, it was called Open Vape at the time, which is still our flagship brand. Since then, we developed a house of brands that became Organa brands, which certainly is now all part of SLANG. But the reason I was brought into that company, not only did I know one of the founders, but I had this, this Fortune 500 background, this training, this ability to build systems and teams and, steward this company from what it was to what it's become, and obviously very thankful for that. And it's been a heck of a journey. So I've actually been in cannabis now coming up on 7 years. And this kind of just is the fruition and the latest greatest of what that's become. So
I've been privileged enough to listen to Billy and Peter talk at other events, and they did mention the photocopier Xerox background sales training. They're like, if you want to learn how to sell, this is where you go. This is what you do. And I know that SLANG's borrowed a little bit from that. So you're based out of Denver. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the climate there and the appetite and if it's still going on.
Yeah, Colorado has been really resilient just as a market at whole. Obviously, we were the first out of the gate, January 1st, 2014. Of course, it was the first sale of legal cannabis anywhere in the country. And we voted on that in November of 2012. So, and it was really no surprise. Colorado's in a lot of ways a very libertarian place. You've got all kinds of folks, liberal, conservative. Everybody's here for these beautiful mountains, to spend time outdoors. So you're very likely to see somebody that's very concerned with the environment, but is also a hunter and very into gun rights. So you've got a real just kind of juxtaposition of people, but everybody here kind of has that independent pioneering spirit. So really it was no surprise that here's the place that passed first. And since then, to be honest, it's been a great ride. The market continues to grow. We've had record months even throughout some of the pandemic, which of course has been kind of a mess for the world. But coming out of kind of the depths of that, the market set new records. SLANG itself has had some of our very best months, on the tail end of this pandemic, and hopefully we're coming out of that soon. But the Colorado market, the way it's set up, the open market mentality, you got to be good. If you're going to stay here, much like a restaurant in New York or a resort, in Aspen, you better be top notch or you're not going to be here for long. So it's a mature market. It continues to grow, and you've got to be on your game if you want to succeed here. And SLANG thrives here. So we're very fortunate to call Colorado home.
SLANG for me was known as a house of brands. It was the house of brands. Tell us, tell the audience what SLANG is. It still may be, but now you're guiding the ship.
I'm gonna pick on you a little bit here, Barrington, because you said was the house of brands. I'm gonna take that out.
Oh,
much
good,
like Ohio
good.
State University, it is the house of brands in Canada, in cannabis, excuse me. And that's, that hadn't changed. So we're very much a CPG focused company. It's based on this foundation. This house of brands is built on a foundation of CPG, which of course is consumer packaged goods. We are the leading consumer packaged goods company in the cannabis space now. And we absolutely are committed to that approach. So we want to get market share. We want to drive market penetration. We want to win in things like total points of distribution. And the way we do that is kind of a combined approach of having some of the best brands in the industry. Our flagship vape brand Open is the second best selling cannabis brand of all time in any category for anything, according to BDS. So we're very proud of that. But since then, we've developed and gone into a lot of other things, whether it's ingestibles with our Pressie's brand, District Edibles, recently acquired Lunchbox Alchemy, which of course is a top-selling Oregon edibles company that will be taken to other markets. And what we really look to do is cover the best-selling categories in cannabis, whether that's our flower partnership with Cookies, of course, our own brands. We will acquire brands, and then we also want to segment those brands within the category, a value brand, a premium brand, et cetera. So we really want to be kind of the one-stop shop for cannabis consumers really all over the world.
Let's move on to your shareholders and your investors. What are there any milestones that they can expect from SLANG Worldwide, or anything that you're able to talk about, more so for 2021?
I'll answer both of those. We had talked about these acquisitions when we went public in January of 2019. There was a lot of hype, and at the time the market was still going crazy. Obviously, that's had a big shift just around whether it's COVID, whether it's the demonstrations happening across the country, whether it's just a change in the availability of capital. Obviously, cannabis companies, in particular, have had a rough go. And SLANG's no exception. The thing that underpins what we do is that market share, is our brand performance. And that hadn't changed. If anything, that's grown stronger over the last almost 2 years. Some of the things our shareholders and just the street can expect in general from us is we're making good on the things that we've long told people. We are closing these acquisitions. We are consolidating these supply chain assets. And what that does is it's a material change in both our revenue and our profit. So you're about to see SLANG when these things all close. Several of them already have. There's more in the works. We expect most of those to be done, if not all of them, by the end of this year. So really just in the next couple of months. We change from being non-plant touching to plant touching. Our revenues go substantially higher. We're on the precipice of consolidated profitability. We had our first cash flow positive month in June. We were damn close again in September. So what you're going to see from us in 2021 is this business, this dream that we were telling people about, this story become reality, and make good on the things that we've been telling people for so long.
One of the things that I've always really liked about SLANG, and actually about a lot of the companies, the cannabis companies, is the culture, and the culture that is developed internally, and it by and large flows from the top down. During COVID, it seems to have been a glue for many companies, weathering the storm. How has SLANG's culture changed? How has it stayed the same? And where's it headed?
Yeah, the rate of the pack is determined by the pace of the leader, as you just mentioned. And man, we grind. This management team grinds. We've been in the trenches. The guys that you see now in this management team, myself, our CFO, Mike Rutherford, our COO, John Moynan, we've been the guys in the operational trenches now for years, really. And John and I go back, in Organobrands, like I said, almost 7 years. So we've kind of been through the ringer and back. We've been punched in the face 100 times. And frankly, you learn from those experiences. Not taking anything away from Peter and Billy. They did a great job. They founded the company. They raised a bunch of money. They went public. That's all a skill set. And now it's that baton has been handed off to the folks that are basically the operational gurus to run a tight business, to be mindful of our balance sheet, to turn a profit. Look, our shareholders expect us to earn money, not just spend it. And so we're focused on doing exactly that. When you talk about culture, I would tell you that that's one of the greatest gifts that we have at this company. Even back to the Organobrands days, we've been recognized by the Denver Post, by several groups, of having one of the best company cultures in cannabis. We've been recognized for that again and again from our peers. And that's something I think that really just got steeled, or we steeled ourselves, during this cannabis, or during the COVID pandemic. It forced us to really rally around each other and really make some tough decisions. But it also really, I think, highlighted we're a scrappy bunch. This crew has been through it all, whether it was legalization, whether it was, working through different regulations, the ups and downs, that the wild ride that is American cannabis, and frankly, Canadian cannabis. We've been through all that, and we're still standing and we're still punching. So we're a scrappy group over here.
Outside of California, I can't think of a tougher place to try and cut your teeth in as well. Like, especially with the background that you have. And
you bet. We've been in California since 2012. So I mean, we have literally seen the good, the bad, the ugly. And it is tough. A lot of people, I think, look at cannabis, and especially with kind of what happened with the whole Canadian Pubco thing over a couple of years, that, you're in it for a quick buck and Bentleys fall out of the sky. And it's like, man, nothing could be further from the truth. I've never worked harder. I've never enjoyed my work more than what I do now. But I will tell you that it is the most difficult thing that I've ever done, but also the most rewarding at the same time.
What are some of the products or brands that people are turning to? Because we were just talking about the coronavirus. What are some of the products and things that people are turning to, that they're leaning on, that's helping? And we talk a little bit at the CSE about mental health and coping, and we haven't seen anything like this in our lifetime.
And hopefully we won't again.
I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
same.
I don't want to see it again. But
yeah, it was tough. I mean, look, it was tough for the world. It was tough for business. It was tough for people. It was tough on folks' mental health. It continues to be in a lot of ways. We're in so many states and several different countries, so we get a really unique perspective. And the reality is, the same thing isn't happening in all the same places. There's some rural parts of this continent that you would think COVID doesn't even really exist. There's some urban parts of this country, and also in Canada, where it's dire.
There's hotspots, man.
Yeah.
What are you finding people are going towards? What are they gravitating? Like,
we track all
edibles.
we track all of our KPIs alongside events. So for instance, when folks started losing their jobs in droves,
I see.
You saw several people, not several, tons of people just started to not go into the stores. Either they didn't feel safe, or frankly, just didn't have the means that they had previously to go and enjoy cannabis. We saw when stimulus came in, all of a sudden there was an influx of people coming into stores, more money being spent on an average ticket. The big thing that we saw in particular was that people didn't stop consuming cannabis, but what they were consuming shifted a little bit. The consumer preference largely around, your economic situation, your financial situation. What's really unique to SLANG is we're not a one-trick pony.
Right.
We've got 6 brands, and those brands all have segmentation within their category. So for instance, with O-Pen, which has been the #1 selling vape pen in Colorado since there were vape pens in Colorado, and still is to this very day, this very minute, we're almost 2.5x the next closest competitor in Colorado. But what we saw was, the really high-end stuff, the cannabis-derived terpenes, the live resins, some of the fastest growing categories, all of a sudden shifted because people just didn't have the same level of disposable income. So it shifted to, for instance, a botanical vape pen, which is you get them in larger format sizes, a 1 gram versus a half gram, and they're a lot more affordable. So we saw that SKU and that product line shoot through the roof, and some of the things that were higher end, the rosins, the live resins, things of that nature, start to settle a bit because they're frankly just more expensive. So we were very fortunate in the fact that we sell both. So we were able to pivot pretty easily between those.
I found it really interesting how you tied in the events that were happening worldly or globally, or
Yep.
with direct sales.
Well, we track all those things. I mean, even things, again, here in Colorado, look, one of the reasons we got punched so hard in the face, if you'll recall, Colorado was one of the early hotspots,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
really kind of came in January, February, before everybody knew what the heck COVID even was. Well, why is that? Well, what do we have just west of us here? One of the best playgrounds in the world with some of the best resorts in the world that attract all kinds of international tourism. So when they shut down the ski resorts, that was devastating. That happened in early March, which is high time for those guys. And we're so widely distributed, Vail, Aspen, Breckenridge, and Telluride, and those places. Those are some of our best stores and some of our highest revenue generating partners from a retail perspective. So when all of a sudden there's no tourism because the mountains closed, devastating. We looked at places like Summit County, which is where Breckenridge and some of these resorts are. Their retail spends were down 80-90% year over year, which nobody's designed to take that punch. But like I said, fortunately, it's a scrappy group, and we survive. And now we're seeing some of those places flourish, kind of hopefully coming on the back end of this.
You mentioned earlier that you have a little bit of multi-jurisdictional experience and, I guess, foresight because you're operating. Let's talk a little bit outside of what are you seeing sort of on the international side? Yeah.
And, we used to do a lot. We still do a lot with our non-cannabis sales. So things like hardware, we sell the Firefly 2 Plus, one of the best-selling dry herb vaporizers really in the world. We sell batteries, hardware. We sell CBD now with Lunchbox Alchemy. They're in 45 states and over 500 stores with their CBD offering. Internationally, there was a lot of hype and a lot of expansion, and how quickly can we spread everything and kind of lift our leg on the world. And what we figured out is the money's being made in the US. Like, make no mistake, we can talk about the Maltas and the Lesothos and all these things. Great for some people. That is not our focus as a company. We are a US focused and a North American. I shouldn't say just US, because obviously we do good business up in Canada as well. But we are a North American focused cannabis company, and that's where the money's being made. So that's where we spend our time and efforts. That's not to say that some of these other places won't one day grow into being something more meaningful from a revenue standpoint, but that's certainly not our focus. And I think a lot of people, all the capital that was deployed all over the world, what's the ROI bit on that? And I'd say it's pretty meager.
I can draw a very thick line in the month of March when everyone shifted and went back internally. And they focused their business on their core business, things that worked. If you're good in one state, then they concentrated on one state. The expansion plans took a back seat. If they started M&A talks, those M&A talks might be delayed a little bit.
Absolutely. Or dissolved.
or dissolved. Chris, I just thought of something. I know what I wanted to ask you.
What you got?
When you're looking at either merging or doing an acquisition or partnering, however you want to describe it, what do you look for? What are some of the factors? What's your blueprint, without giving away, of course, the secret sauce? But yeah, what catches your eye?
Yeah, we have core and emerging markets. And what that means is, in a core market, we're plant touching. We want to consolidate everything in the supply chain up to wholesale. We never touch retail. We want to ride shotgun. We sell to over 1,000 different dispensaries. We're in 3,000 plus retailers. So we never want to retail, because those are the lifeblood of what we do. But we're always looking to drive our KPIs, and that's branded unit servings, or branded unit sales. That's branded servings. That's market penetration. I want to win in those three on those three scoreboards. So the way that we do that is, in a core market, it's a place where I can do all those things myself, up through manufacturing, wholesale, distribution, et cetera. and I can drive a profit. An emerging market is a place where either I don't have the infrastructure or we don't have the leadership, we don't have the license, whatever the case may be. So we look to identify a partner that's a very strong operator that provides the things that I can't provide myself. And what we do is supercharge that operator with some of the world's best-selling cannabis brands to really give them a leg up against their competition in a particular state. So we're looking for leadership, we're looking for infrastructure, and we're looking for alignment and vision and culture. And what that allows for when you find those things, which is like, for example, our partnership with Trulieve in Florida and now in Massachusetts, we're super aligned in vision. They know where they're going. They know who they want to be. We have the same, but those things are peas and carrots together. So when we find a partner like that, we look to replicate that model again and again and again, which is what we've now demonstrated in Florida. Again, scoreboard doesn't lie. They're killing it down there. And part of that is because they're selling our products. They do a great job on their own. Don't get it wrong. But they said, look, we're doing great with you guys. You guys are doing great with us. Let's take that show on the road and do it again. And that's just what we're going to do in Massachusetts.
Yep. Rinse and repeat.
Yep.
For our listeners and our viewers, the person behind of Trulieve, of who he's talking about, is of course Kim Rivers. You can catch interviews with her on CSE_TV, available on YouTube, and we profiled her during Cannabis Month 520. So again, if you go to CSE_TV on YouTube, you can check out some Trulieve. And what I like telling our listeners is that now take what Chris is saying, watch Kim Rivers, listen to what she's saying, and then you'll find a perfect marriage of ideology.
No doubt. KR is a beast. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We spend a lot of time, obviously, with Kim and her team. In fact, I'm actually on my way to Oklahoma here this afternoon to meet with some of her team, to look at some different things. But the reality is that team operates like nobody else that we work with. And the reason that they're very good at what they do is they understand who they are, they understand where they're going, and have just a relentless focus to get there. And obviously the proof's in the pudding. Again, the scoreboard doesn't lie. And Trulieve is they're great. We love working with them.
Chris, we're approaching near the end of the interview. What is one thing that you want to leave with our listeners or leave to our listeners? And what's one thing that we don't know about you? Yeah.
Couple things. What I want to leave the listeners with, which I think is the most important, is take another peek at SLANG. There was a lot of kind of a bad sentiment out there. A lot of that was capital markets, this, that, and the other. We are making good on the promises that we once were putting out there as far as closing these acquisitions and becoming a plant-touching, materially different company in regards to revenue and profit. This team is running down profitability. We are on the precipice of turning a corner and becoming a force to be reckoned with over and above just our brands. We are a strong company, and we are going to continue to demonstrate excellence through this year, next year, and beyond. Things you don't know about me: one, I'm on a competitive barbecue team. So I'm from Texas originally. You probably hear that a little bit in my voice, but fat kids eating. I love smoking fatty meats, and I'm damn good at it. And the last thing is, I am a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, which is just absolutely brutal this year.
Can we just go back to the food thing?
Yeah.
So in another life, my good friend and I entered a chili cook-off. We've entered a few chili cook-offs, and we won. We won
Nice.
the Texas division.
Whoa! We're the best, the big boy division. If we're talking chili.
That's right. So we actually won. If you have time, you guys out there listening can Google it. It was in the Toronto Star. And
man, I'd love to get the recipe and understand your secret
so
sauce.
Yeah, it was all
made
killer.
chili this past weekend. I'd love to try yours.
All killer, no filler. So it was just meat and sauce. But so we won for Ontario and whatever. I guess that qualified us for the Continental Championship, which was going to be held in Texas. But it was the same weekend as his wedding.
Oh, dagger.
I mean, I did ask. I went to, and I was like, how do you feel about a destination wedding? She's like, let me
Right,
guess, Texas. I was like,
So
so we were this close, but
next
if you
time.
watch some of our interviews, we talk about food all the time.
Oh, I
all
love it, man.
the
I'm
time.
a foodie and a food and football man. Food, football, weed, and family. Like that's Chris Driessen in a nutshell. You got it.
That's perfect. Yeah, that concludes the interview. I'm Barrington. This was Chris, and you were listening to an episode of #Finance brought to you by the Canadian Securities Exchange. Check out SLANG Worldwide. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Barrington. Thank you, everyone.